Erev Tov Chavrim, I'm Steve Benoon. You're watching Israeli News Live. Going to kind of do a little roundup here around the Middle East there, kind of cover different things that are going on. Some intel reports we have on different issues as well. But first, we want to go to RT that says Tehran oil tanker broke down in the Persian Gulf, towed by Iran forces for repairs. There was so much concern over this oil tanker, and the Iranian forces came to the aid of an oil tanker stranded in the Persian Gulf. A foreign minister spokesman has said the tanker is presumed to be the same Panama registered vessel missing from radar screens since Saturday. The tanker, Iran's Ministry of Foreign Affairs spokesman Saeed Abbas Musavi said on Tuesday, was in trouble due to technical defects in the Persian Gulf. And the state ISNA agency reported Musavi said that the Iranian forces towed the ship into Iranian waters, adding that the necessary repairs will be done. I'm just waiting to see how the United States reacts to this, how they're going to spin this one here. No doubt, again, probably blame Iran for something. Don't doubt it for a moment. But, listen, guys, I got to tell you straight up. We're looking at a new world order, and as far as I'm concerned, I don't think there is a nation on the planet that is not playing in cahoots with this new world order that's coming. So let's clear the water right off. And that doesn't matter if it's United States, if it's Israel, European Union, Russia. In fact, Russia, back in 2016, had already put their laws in place, the draconian laws against religious freedoms, that in reality pretty much will give all the power necessary to enforce the 7 Noahide laws. So just something to throw out there on the table for you. And Iran, well, you have to understand, you have the Mujahideen, the Iranian Mujahideen, who is working very close with American allies. So you just never know which side of the table is going to turn there. But at the end of the day, they're all going to be part of this new world order. Now, there are, of course, granted, there are certain powers on the planet that want certain leaders in power as far as for this new world order. That's just a give and take, no doubt about it. And I will tell you another thing too. If ministers are not truly laying down a fine line on what these 7 Noahide laws are, what they spell out for American people, not just American, but Christians on a global scale, something's majorly wrong. All right, so, and I appreciate you guys getting the words out to different ministers out there. I hear that even Amir Safarti has actually spoken about it briefly in one of his videos recently. And he actually said that Christians do not come under Talmudic law or any kind of law. I appreciate him making that statement there. I'd like to see him, though, clarify his stance even more so on that. I know there's a lot of things that we've disagreed upon in the past there, but I do appreciate he's at least made that statement there, because that's exactly right. We're not under Talmudic laws. And to be more clear about it, we're not under 7 Noahide laws, period. And I never will accept it. I would much rather keep the 10 Commandments that God gave Moses than I would to go keep some Talmudic interpreted, some crazy job out there. I'll forget it. I'm not going to go into that right now. That's a different subject altogether. Anyway, hey, by the way, we will have our new website up before too long as well. It'll be 7noahideLaws.org. It's not ready as of yet, but we are getting the early stages of that, getting ready for that. So hope you guys will be able to see some very interesting insights there. The videos that will be hosted there will be hosted by our own server. It will not be by any second or third party platform that can take down the videos that we publish, unless they just decide to shut us down altogether completely off the internet. You never know these days. Anyway, so the oil tanker is no longer a mystery. Now this here is not really that big of a deal, but Iran is on the brink of unveiling a new homegrown armored military vehicle. And from the looks of it, it does look pretty nice and sleek and new. And so, but hey, it's kind of, what this reminds me of? I was sitting there looking at the different news that was coming out today about President Trump showcasing made in America products in Washington there. And although I appreciate that, I realized that about the only thing that was being showcased were weapons. That's because, and I even asked, I sent a tweet to the president. I asked him, I said, Mr. President, could you make a list? I would like a list of all the names and all the companies that were once U.S. manufactured companies that have been moved overseas, whether it would be to China, Mexico, India. Doesn't matter where they've been moved to overseas in order to get away with some cheap little prices there so you could make a lot more profit. I'd like to see the name, that not only the companies, but the names of the executives, the CEOs, CFOs, etc. Compile all that list together. I want to see how many of those companies are staunch supporters of President Trump. Because President Trump really is great about talking about Made in America, and I appreciate that about the president when it comes to that issue. But the problem is we've already outsourced our entire economy overseas. Making China great again is really what we're doing. That should be our slogan. Make China greater than America. It's really a shame because America should still be the world's leader, but it's not, because all this has happened. And I'm not here to blame that on President Trump, because I realize he wasn't the guy that did that. But that's another story. Anyway, continuing on and other things that are going on. Syria, you're looking at a video right here, a big group of military equipment, Russian-made military equipment, in fact, that the Syrian military is using there, courtesy of Russia. That is headed to the Hama province there. They are still fighting furiously over that area there. This is now the 89th or 81st day of aerial bombardments by the Russian Air Force and the Syrian Air Force as well in that region there. And this is just some of that video footage here. This is July 16th, as this was loaded today. And turn down the volume on that there, though. But yeah, you're seeing those bombs being dropped by the Russians there. And of course, you know, like I said, war is just horrible. It doesn't matter what side is righteous, trying to stop the other side from doing their thing. You know, listen, all these major nations that are involved right now, whether it be Russia, whether it be United States, NATO, Great Britain, you know, they could agree, every one of them right now, to stop these wars. They could end the bloodshed tonight, not tomorrow. You know, it always reminds me of when Pharaoh, he went and Moses says, when would you like for me to entreat the Lord that the frogs be gone? He said, by this time tomorrow. You realize how stupid Pharaoh was? I would have asked Moses right then and now. But everything was tomorrow. Same thing with these wars. They could be stopped right now. These world leaders could pick up the phone, they could speak with one another, and war would come to a dead stop. No more arming, no more funding, no more paying the fighters, all these jihadists you got out there killing one another. Yeah, you'd have a few stray bullets going along until the word got to everybody out there, look, the thing is up, it's over. But you know, the reason it doesn't end is because all these countries, everybody including the Russians, are making big money off of killing people. And not only are they making big money off of killing people, but they're also making plans and big money for the reconstruction of the nations they destroy. You know, and I see a lot of people out there, and I appreciate the work they do. Iran Efrati is one of them, you know, where he says he's exposed how that Gaza and the West Bank have been proving grounds for the weapons that Israel manufactures, tried and tested. But you know, Iran, the thing is, Israel is no different than America, or no different than Russia, or no different than India, or China, or any other nation that's trying their weapons out on whoever they can, wherever they can in different parts of the world, and then selling their weapons to the rest of the world. They're all getting fat on it. All of them are guilty. You know, I mean, the only thing that can be done is for Christ to come and wipe out the entire governmental structures around the world. Just completely just wipe them all out because they're all crooked and corrupt. And they want to bring about a new world order saying that the Messiah is coming and the Messiah is going to side with us. Who's Messiah going to side with? The guy that's winning the most wars? Or the guy that's blowing up the most children? Or is the Messiah going to side with the country that is putting the most children in prison? Is the Messiah going to side with the church that's got the most pedophiles? I mean, let's face it. Everybody that's out there, they're guilty. All the nations are guilty. All the nations' leaders are guilty. I don't care who he is. Trump, Putin, Netanyahu, Xi Jinping, Abe. You can go right on around the world, name every world leader. And they're all guilty. And they talk about the coming of the Messiah. Well, I'll tell you one thing. When Jesus Christ returns, he is the Messiah. There's not some new Messiah coming. You know, they talk about Mashiach ben David. My own Jewish brothers and sisters talk about the Mashiach ben David. He's the King David is coming. You know, this is where Israel went wrong. And that's a message I'm going to bring out tomorrow. Doing it part of Hebrew Nation Radio where I speak over there. And some people don't like that, speak over there. Let me tell you something though. I like anywhere God will open a door, I will gladly try to speak to help whoever I might be able to help. But I'll tell you something. That's where Israel went wrong to begin with, is when Israel wanted a king. In fact, it is even older than that. God didn't even want Israel to have to deal with a prophet. God wanted to have his own relationship with Israel. Not just Israel, but all his children, the children of God. He wanted to have a personal relationship with them from the very beginning. It's their rejection. You know, my wife was sharing with me a scripture, and this is kind of off the subject here. I want to get back on the news here in just a second. She was sharing a scripture with me about that, and I just have to paraphrase it, but it talks about how that because Israel would never bring forth that fruit, that he sought a people that would bring forth good fruit. I told my wife, I said, do you realize what that really is speaking about? That's why Jesus called the Pharisees a bunch of reptilians, basically. In the Hebrew, Matthew calls them a crocodile and a serpent both. Reptilians. Why? Because Ezra said they had done the abominations of those filthy nations of the earth, how they brought the Nephilim in. He was looking for a people that could bring forth the fruit. In other words, a people that would not corrupt their race. And I'm not talking about colors of people either. Please don't mix that up into it either. I hate it when people do that. Nephilim are fallen angels. They're giants. They're, you know, of course we see according to Jude that they've managed to get their size down to about a human size. They crept in unawares. So it's by their fruit you know them, which there's also a symbolic side of that. In other words, the fact of their deeds that they do lets you know what's the kind of tree they're coming from. Either a good tree or an evil tree. Anyway, I just thought I'd throw that in there. All right, so yeah, Syria and Russia has been bombing for 81 days. But another thing that's happening too, I had to just throw this one in here for you as well. In the U.S. held area of over there on the eastern side of the Euphrates River there, let me just show you on the map where we're talking about. We're talking about Haska. All right, Haska, Syria. That's up here in northern part of Syria, right there on the, you know, everything on the. You see the Euphrates River? Euphrates River runs right through here. You guys might have a glare on the screen. I don't know, but anyway, that's up there. Haska's up there in the northern area. My apology. Euphrates River is right here. But up here in the northern area there, Al-Haska is where the U.S. has really got a good stronghold there. And they've got a refugee camp there. And now they're flying the ISIS militant flag once again. Now, I thought it was kind of funny that they had this on here at a refugee camp that is controlled by U.S. forces, the ISIS flag on top of this light pole. And at the same time, we're getting this report here from Press TV that the U.S.-led airstrike kills 15 civilian Syrians in Deir al-Zawar, which, by the way, is down here on the southern border, which is on the Euphrates River right there. Down here on the far right part right there, right by Al-Kamal. And it literally is on the border of Iraq right there. And the U.S. was bombing this house because they said there was an ISIS leader inside of that house. Jeez. By the way, I got intel reports. I was just going to share some intel with you there. Good friend of mine, won't call his name or anything, but he let me know that al-Baghdadi, the Israeli Jewish-born Mossad agent, who is mastermind of the ISIS terrorist organization, is now in Libya operating there to overthrow the UN-backed government under the help of U.S. forces, no doubt. And another thing also that the other day, I don't know if I mentioned this to you guys or not, but another good friend of mine, Israeli friend that has connections to the Israeli intelligence community there, was sharing with me that about 14 helicopters were going north. And as I checked out on the news there was Israeli ship that had crossed into the territorial waters of Lebanon. So they were kind of in a little bit of a dispute there. It was a Israeli drill that was going on, but at the same time, I got another report coming out of Israel telling me that there is a good possibility, as soon as they can get the war with Iran going, they are going to take out Hezbollah in Lebanon. In fact, they said Hezbollah has to be taken down because of the gas fields. And that report there comes from a different friend. It's Chris, good friend of ours there over in Israel. He was telling me because, of course, his background is working with the oil companies around the world. And he said the only way that Israel can secure the Leviathan oil field off the coast there of Israel, which is also in territorial waters of Lebanon, is to take Hezbollah out. And he told me, he said they're going to take Hezbollah out for no other reason but because of that right there. Not to mention, I mean, granted, Hezbollah has put tunnels under Israel, getting themselves ready for a war with Israel. That's been going on for a long time. I don't have a whole lot of good things to say about Hezbollah because of the things that they're doing. It's been a major battle between Hezbollah and Israel for quite some time. And I know there's both two sides of the story there, so I'm not here to throw stones at anybody over these issues here, just simply saying there are issues that are going on. But I do kind of hold Israel responsible for the fact that the Israelis had told told the Israeli government for more than 2 years that there were tunnels, no, actually all the way back to 2015, 4 years. They had been telling the Israeli government they're building tunnels. Israel would do nothing about it until right here at the last moment. So Israel claims they got all these tunnels that were built and destroyed them, but that still, that we'll have to wait to see if that's really going to be the case. Also, American patrols this morning in Sugar Line north of Manbij. They're patrolling up in there. Turkey is moving forces over to that border there, talking about doing an incursion to take out more of the YPG Kurdish fighters up in that region. The U.S. still standing with the Kurds thus far. We'll have to wait and see if the two end up engaging with one another. Don't know how that's going to go. And another blackout. I haven't really talked anything about these American blackouts that are going on, but they're rolling one after another. I think there's one in D.C., another one up in New York. Now we got one hit Staten Island. And now they're saying that about 2,000 people are without power, and happened just shortly before 10 p.m. tonight, and they say it looks like they're going to be without power through the night. So kind of curious myself, what's all this power outages happening for? Anyway, I'm Steve Benoon. You're watching Israeli News Live. Listen, I don't know what the deal is with the comments on our YouTube channel. Of course, we can see the live chat is going with no problem there. But we've really been seeing some strange things happening with comments. We don't know if they're actually, if you guys are being able to post and they're not showing up or what, but we're not seeing anything. Other than on this last video we did, we had several came up, but after that, nothing. So anyway, and also too, some of you have been writing me about our preparations that we're making to stay in touch with those of you that are listening in the event that we get taken down off the air in the future there. Mailing address is what's important. Okay, email address, we have not made any plans for email yet, although not to say that we won't. So we appreciate your email as well, but if you really are looking for us to be able to stay in touch with you, please let us know your mailing address. And you can write us at israelinewslive.org. Put in the description contact or address, something like that, so we can distinguish those, so we can continue to build our database that we're putting together now. I'm Stephen Benoon with Israeli News Live, Erev Tov.